Shivaya Namaha. 52 years is, seems like a long time. That's how long I knew Ram Dass's life. The last years together, when I come to Maui, we talked, but mostly we sat in silence. And I began to realize that we really spoke to each other in silence. The other night, I woke up in the middle of the night and I wrote this down. I don't know how it's going to sound in daylight or whatever kind of light this is, but here it goes. His body was like a burning house, but his soul rose like an eagle from the ashes and merged in the love, in the light of the sun. After the stroke, he got no time off. At first, he used to say that Maharaji, our guru, had stroked him. But later, he understood that the stroke was his karma, and that Maharaji's grace had given him the strength to overcome all the negative, difficult things that arose from the stroke. Every moment he was doing his sadhana, his spiritual work, son of a bitch. Just when I'm trying to be serious, he fucks everything up.
Hail Murphy. Hail Murphy.
All right. I'm going to pretend he's not here. Every moment he did his spiritual work, forced by the pain and suffering to bring his head and heart back again and again to Maharaji's love. He took refuge again and again in the heart of the Guru. And as time went on, he recognized more fully that that love was his own true self. And his heart became as wide as the world as he merged into that love. Shining in endless space, all I want is to be with you. All my prayers have been heard. All I need is to rest inside your heart as wide as the world. I look where could I run? Your eyes, I find them everywhere. All I want is to sing to you a song that no one has heard. All my life has led me to your heart as wide as the world. Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, everybody. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram. One of Ram Dass's favorite chants was Hanuman Chalisa, which we're going to sing. If you know the words, you can sing along. If not, just keep breathing. It'll be over soon.
Words are in there. Words are in the
The words are in the thing, but you know, there's a lot of them. But let me teach you one line that we're going to sing at the end. Repeat after me. Ram, Lakshman, Janaki, Jai Bolo, Hanuman ki. Ram Lakshman, Janaki, Jai Bolo, Hanuman ki. Okay. Keep that in your pocket. You'll need it in a few minutes. Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamanu Mukuru Sudhai Parano Raghu Jasu Jodaku Palachar Buddhina Tanujanike Sumeram Palanakuma Siyaram Balabuddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesa Bika Siyavara Ramachandra Padaje Sharanam Jai Hanuman Gyana Gunasagar Jai Kapisati Hum Loka Ujjar Ramaduta Tulita Valadhana Anjani Putra Pavana Sutana Mahavir Vikram Bajrangi Kumati Nirvara Sumati Kesangi Kanchanavara Viraja Subesa Kanana Kundala Kunchita Kesa Ata Bajora Dvaja Viraje Kande Munja Janeusa Shankara Suvana Kesari Nandana Teja Pratapa Mahajagabam Vidyavan Guni Ati Chaturam Kaja Karibe Koatu Prabhu Charitra Sunive Korasya Rama Lakana Sita Manabasya Suchma Rupa Dharisya Hindakala Vikata Rupa Dharilanka Jara Bhima Rupa Dhari Asura Sanghari Ramachandra Ke Kaja Samava Lai Sajivana Lakana Jiyaye Shri Raghuvira Harshira Lai Raghupati Kinhi Bahota Barai Tumma Mama Priya Bharatai Samabhai Sahasabadan Tumaro Jasagam Asakahi Shri Pati Kantalaga Sanakadika Brahmani Munisa Marat Sharad Sahita Hisa Yamakuver Digapala Jahante Kabhi ko bidda kahe sake kahande Tuma upakara Sugriva hinkinha Rama milaya Rajapadadi Tumaro mantra bibhishanamana Lankeshwara bhai sabba jagajan Yuga sahasra jojana paramanu Lilyotahi madura palajan Prabhu mudrika mele mukamahi Jaladilangi gaye achara janahi Durgama kaja jagat ke jete Sugama anugraha tumare tete Ram duare tumara kavare Otana agya binu pesa Sab sukh lahe tumhari sharana Tumhara chakka kahu kodam Apana teja samharo ape Tinon lokaham katin kamte Buddha pisasha nikat nahi aave Mahavira jab naam sunave Nase roga hare sab pira Japat nirantara hanumat vir Sankatate hanuman churave Manakrama bachana dhyana jola Sabha pararama tapasvi raja Tinake kaja sakala tumasaj Or manorat joko vilave So imita jivana palapave Charon yuga paratap tumhara Hai parasiddha jagat ujjaya Sadhu sant ke rakavare Asura nikandana ramadura Ashta siddhi no nidhi ke data Asavara dinha Janki mata Rama rasayana tumare pasa Sada raho raghupati ke dasa Tumare bhajana Rama ko paave Janam janam ke dukha bisarave Anta kala raghuvara pura jai Jan janma hare bhakta kahai Orda devata chitana darai Manomata se sarva sukha kare Sankat kate mithe sab pira Jo sunire hanumata baladir Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai Kripa karo Gurudeva kina Jo satvara Pata kara koi Chutahi bandi maha sa hoya siddhi saki gauri sa Tulsidas sadari chera kije nata hridaya mandir Pavanatanaya Sankataharana Mangala Murti Rupa Siyaram Ramalakana Sita Sahita Hridaya Baso Sudabhupa Siyavara Ramachandra Padaje Sharanam Mangalamurti Marutanandan Sakala Mangala Nikanda Mangalamurti Marutanandan Sakala Mangala Nikanda Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Bolo Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sitaram Sitaram Jai Jai Sitaram 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 Jai Jai Sitaram Sitaram Sitaram, Sitaram, Jai Jai, Sitaram, 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 Jai Jai, Sitaram, Sitaram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Ram Lakshman Janaki Jai Bolo Hanuman Ki Ram Lakshman Ram Lakshman Janaki Jai Bolo Hanuman Ki Bolo Ram Lakshman Janaki Jai Bolo Hanuman Ki Ram Lakshman Oh Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Ram Lakshman Janaki Jai Bolo Hanuman Ki Ram Lakshman Janaki Ram Lakshman Janaki Jai Bolo Hanuman Ki Ram Lakshman Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Hare Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai. Namaste. Matthew, Moo, and Hardy.
Beloved Baba, I'm so happy for you. The soul of Maui called you to its womb, as it has called all of us. And that authentic aloha was a perfect, beloved fit in the pu'uvai, the heart. Baba could have lived anywhere on the planet. And Maui Nuia Kama, Hawaii, had the blessing of the spirit of the soul. His soul, Maui's soul, Ohana family. So we are grateful for this infinite vision of peace and aloha that has bloomed beyond these shores in the rainbows of all that is. E hoi ke la ke ae, nana ke aloha, e hoi ke la ke ae, ku pa'apono, ku ha'aheo, ku alaloa, maluhia e ko aloha, huvalela, paha paha mai, iluna e hoi ke la ke ae. Take a breath. One more time. And one more time. Eola. This is a simple mele in Baba's honor. Aloha, to have compassion, to live from that space of love that knows the tenderness and dignity of all life. To malama, to care, to serve that light, to serve from that space that knows that we are all together as one. And to ho'omana'o, to remember that love, service, and this remembering brings peace to all. So let us dive into the ocean of love. This is your Hawaiian mantra. Aloha malama ho'o mana'o. Aloha malama ho'o mana'o. Aloha malama ho'o mana'o. Aloha malama ho'o mana'o. Oh yes. Why do I love coming to Hawaii? It is because aloha lives forever. Aloha malama ho'o mana'o. Join us. Aloha malama ho'o mana'o. Aloha malama ho'o mana'o. Aloha malama ho'o mana'o. Mahalo.
Aloha.
One quick story. We are the guardians of a beautiful sacred site here on Maui called Kukui Puka. Kukui, the light. Puka, the portal, the doorway. And Baba came up with us one day And as soon as his body was placed there, as we Hawaiians say, he just went ue, he just went full ue, like the rains that were blessing us today. You know, the tears from the heaven, blessing and cleansing us. And he just erupted, and beautiful tears came out of him. And he said, "This is why I came to Maui." Yeah. To feel Maui this way, to feel the tender dignity of this sacred land that is our beautiful Honua, our Earth Mother. And he had been on Maui for a couple years by that time. But when his essence, his soul touched this land, this place, he just said, "This is why I came. This is why we are all here, to remember that part of ourselves and to be what is every moment in aloha."
You got a minute.
And with that, beloveds, mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you, RD. Touched by an angel, right? Everybody's touched by RD. Everybody's touched. So grateful.
We need a little live mic. Hi. Whoa. Yeah. Well, everybody's going to come on out here who's going to share. So let's go. We have such a wonderful group of people who have been coming to Maui and spending time with Ram Dass. I will introduce. They don't need much introduction, though. Look at this crew, huh? So, welcome everybody. I'm Raghu Markus from Love, Serve, Remember Foundation, your host alongside of Ram Dass's household, Dasima, and all the caretakers put this event together. So thank you for being here. So when Ram Dass left, I was, like all of us, it was a whirl of so many emotions and so many thoughts, and wondering, missing so much, I thought. And, that enormous heart, that humor on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I spent quite a lot of time with him, both on the phone and Skype and in person and so on. So, his loving awareness teachings, which were so powerful for so many people. But really, most of all, is the amount of love, kindness, and compassion that Ram Dass exuded on a moment-to-moment basis. As Krishna said, his sadhana was moment to moment. And one time I was wheeling the wheelchair at an event in Los Angeles before he came to Maui. And he had gotten really tired after the talk, so I was pushing that wheelchair real fast to get through the audience, right? But people were reaching out, and he jammed on the brake, right? And he looked at me like, "Are you out of your mind?" And he just hung out with those people no matter what and gave everything he had. You know, that's who Ram Dass is. And when he returned from India in 1968, he said he came back with the jewel of Maharaji. And recently I said, well, he told you not to say anything about him. Don't talk about me when you go back to America, was what he said. That's all he did. I said, well, why? And you didn't listen to him? He said, I could not stop sharing. I couldn't do it. And so that's all he did. And he created this incredible satsang right away in his father's farm in New Hampshire, and where some of us went. And it was our first experience of this coming together of a community of the heart, of a family. And, you know, that's so much of what he has given us and what the legacy is. I think it was Thich Nhat Hanh who has said, the next Buddha is the Sangha. Right? The next Guru is the Satsang, is this. So for me, when I first met Ram Dass, this is a story I tell all the time, but worth telling here. I was a program director of a radio station in Montreal, where I'm from. And I got a call saying, okay, can you promote Ram Dass, who's going to be giving a lecture at McGill University, a big school in Montreal? And I didn't know who Ram Dass was until they said, you know, Richard Alpert and Tim Leary. And I went, okay, yeah. They were my heroes. But I said, send a tape over so I can hear it before I decide what to do. And they did. And of course, like so many that are in this room, that when they first heard Ram Dass, that suddenly it was, wow, some truth. This is what I've been waiting to hear all my life. And then I said, but I gotta go meet him. So I put the talk on the air. It was in the middle of the week, and the switchboard lit up. People never heard anything like this. It was amazing. Anyhow, I got over to a house where Ram Dass was in Montreal. He was alone. He welcomed me in. And then suddenly, there was no more Richard Alpert. There was no Ram Dass. There was just this field that I was embraced in of love and total attention. And you know, we've had this movie, many of you know, called Becoming Nobody, about Ram Dass and his teachings. And the whole movie is about from a somebody to a nobody. Well, Ram Dass, as many of us here now know, every time you encountered him, he just left aside anything but what was needed for you, for me in that moment. And that gave such a sense of trust and safety and home. And it propelled me actually to go to India and meet Neem Karoli Baba when he went back the second time. And throughout the long history, Krishna said 52, I guess maybe I'm 50 and a half or 51, not quite sure. It's a long history though, and throughout it, Ram Dass continued at so many different moments to show me it was okay to be human. It was okay, the dark thoughts, the self-interest, the motivations which, you know, just absolutely can drive you around the corner. And he was constantly just saying, it's okay. And in fact, one time we were living up in the Himalayas where we were doing supposedly we're going to do a meditation course, Vipassana meditation with one of Jack's and Trudy's teachers, Manindra. And that ended up being of course, Ram Dass, given who he was, he held the space when this teacher couldn't come. And part of that space was every one of us would at times go into his room and sit right in front of him, literally a couple of feet away, and eye to eye, and he'd create that total attention space where it was just molecules mixing together. I mean, it was amazing. And he'd say, whatever you can't say, tell me now. You can imagine the stuff that came out of people's heads, the mouths and that. But everybody could hear because it was India. It's like thin walls, people looking down, you know. And we all used to share that, oh, wow, ooh, yeah. And in the end, we all found we were not alone. In fact, many of the same dark thoughts were coming out of each person. So it was another way for him to just have us know it's okay to be human. That was a great thing. When I first heard him the first time, it was just his honesty and his level of being able to just share his foibles made it okay for us. That was a big thing, a big legacy of Ram Dass. And then, be here now, right? His most iconic phrase, that book that turned on a generation. This wasn't something he wrote and it was just sort of a saying that people pointed to when it was in relation to Ram Dass. One time I was at his house last year rather, and he was upstairs and I was busy thinking of all the different things that I had to produce around him in terms of the event. Oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. So I ran upstairs, and he was in the bathroom, and he was shaving. And as soon as he saw me, he carefully put his razor down, and he did that thing again, that enveloping thing, which many of you in this room probably know if you've ever just encountered him for one moment. And everything dropped out of me. Every thought that I had that I thought I needed to do, everything, including time and space, because he was so much living in just presence. So that be here now wasn't just a saying. He was living it in every moment. It was quite amazing. And then, in the end, he gave everything up, his last breath. Jack talked about it in the memorial, how he, in the memorial in San Francisco, about how he, in that moment, every person that came through and got a mala, he connected with. But what happened, I don't know if you know this, Jack, but the night before the ceremony, Dasi Ma and others, we got together with him and said, look, you do not have the energy to go out there and give a mala and encounter over 400 people. So he agreed, okay, all right. He'll go up on stage and you'll be able to just give darshan from there. So then the event comes and he comes into the pavilion where we were gathering for this ceremony. And he looks at me and he says, so I'm going to give a mala to everybody now, right? I go, no, you're not going to you agreed already not to do that. He looked at me like, you know how you got that lip thing going, Ram Dass? He was very unhappy, but he acceded. So to his last breath, Ram Dass just gave it up, literally. And those of us that were with him in the last couple of weeks of his life can attest to that. So I'm going to close with my own little remembrances here. I found we have a lot of Ram Dass's letters and other memorabilia. It's quite incredible, and we're putting it together, and eventually we'll share it somehow. But this is when two hearts recognize one another within the dream, even for a moment, they rend the veil of separation and break out of the dream, by touching the mystery that is love. Is that beautiful? So, Ram Dass, thank you for that recognition over 50 years ago. My life really began in that moment. Namaste. Roshi Joan, Halifax.
I'd love to know if there's anyone in this space who never had a direct encounter with Ram Dass. Would you raise your hand? I see one hand, a couple of more. Thank you. And those of you who had eyeball-to-eyeball contact, would you raise your hand? Thank you. For those of you who did not have the opportunity to spend time with Ram Dass in person, actually the thread of his life has woven through our culture and through the world in an extraordinary way. And I feel, in a certain way, kind of confused standing here, because one part of me feels this extraordinary joy and gratitude. I think many of us understand that joy and gratitude for having had the privilege of time with him, and also thankful for his deep influence on our world. And then there's another part of me that feels heavy, sad, unable in a way to accept the absence of his physical presence. And in consideration of this, I want to speak briefly to Dasima. Dasima, thank you for giving Ram Dass the love and care that made it possible for him to meet so many, to serve so many. I just am so grateful. And Dasima also was, in a way, the den mother. So I'm going to ask for those amazing people who cared for Ram Dass, some of whom were on the stage earlier. Will you stand up? I mean, what a team of bodhisattvas, and to get the blessing of his presence every day. So in one of my visits, I came every year to Maui faithfully because I was always afraid he was going to die. Well, he did die, but I made a lot of trips to Maui. not anticipating immediately his transition, his great leap into the departure lounge. But in any case, one of my visits, I went to a few valleys away from Ram Dass to visit William Merwin, the poet. And I wanted to offer a poem that he wrote. I'm pretty sure it was for his wife, Paula, but it really struck me as I was preparing to come here on this visit without his physical presence, but feeling so strongly the blessing of his life in my life. And the poem is short. It says, "Your absence has gone through me like thread through a needle. Everything I do is stitched with its color. Your absence has gone through me like thread through a needle. Everything I do is stitched with its color." So R.D., who was 11 years my senior, came into my life shortly after I got married to Stanislav Grof. And their worlds were joined by LSD, by acid, which was a good thing for some of us. And some of us actually outgrew it, but I see, and I was really thrilled that this kind of resurgence of the psychedelic world happened in the time of Ram Dass's long lifespan twice. You know, in the beginning, with his great endeavors with Walter Pankey and Tim Leary at Harvard, and then again in the past few years. But he also brought something else that was really important forward, and that was this vision of what it is to be Dharma in action, what it is to serve others. And I feel like, in a certain way, he's the forebear for many of us, Frank and I particularly, in relation to caring for people who are dying. And also the work that many of us have done in the prison industrial system. R.D. really opened up that door for us. He had this kind of courage to go into the charnel grounds where very few people wanted to spend time. And he made those charnel grounds something that became deeply valuable for all of us, to understand the truth of our mortality, but also to realize that in a certain way we are all caged birds, that we are one thought away from actually being a guest of the correctional system ourselves. So I have that feeling that his Dharma, which had many faces but always one heart, will be carried forward by all of us in this space, certainly by as many as are listening to the live cast today, to understand that we cannot separate ourselves completely from the suffering of this world, that he exemplified that capacity to meet suffering with love, with joy, and enormous strength. So I want to thank you for being in this space with old friends today, and for us also to remember our commitments and vows. And because you might have guessed I'm a Zen person with the hair don't, I wanted to offer just words that we would offer at the memorial service. Ram Dass, The great mystery we all face is no longer a mystery to you. You have gone before us, lighting our way. In the hope of benefiting your loving spirit, we call upon the compassionate ones, all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas, all those who possess unconditional love, the wisdom to understand what we cannot even imagine. And you, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you now know that our beloved Ram Dass has passed from this world to the next. He has taken the great leap and been borne away by the ocean of birth and death. Earnestly consider the coming and going of life and death is as the changing of summer and winter. Arriving into life is like a bolt of lightning. Death is like waves disappearing into the great ocean. In dying, the karmic bonds of our beloved Ram Dass have been released, and life came to its end. Realizing this, the transiency of all worldly things, Ram Dass and death has finally been fully liberated. And speaking to him, Ram Dass, we respectfully ask you to accept our words, thoughts, and feelings. By the solitary fullness of wisdom's moon, you have illumined the 10,000 waters. With compassion, you have responded to suffering and joy. We are unable to look at your physical face, yet we see the boundless results of your intentions, of your actions, of your presence in our world. Finally, may the merit of this gathering accompany you, Ram Dass. You have returned to your origins. Humbly we pray that the inmost nature of your spirit and the fruit of your life may bloom like a lotus through the love of so many. Thank you.
So now a couple of people who I said I spent a lot of time seeing Ram Dass in Maui, but they almost live with him. Jack Kornfield and Trudy Goodman, come on up.
Hi, Trudy, dear. Great.
Hi, Jack.
Nice to see you here.
Always nice to see you, and especially to be here together with all of you.
Yeah, and Ram Dass, if he were to be here, which he is actually, he had that incredible wisdom and transcendence, but when he was younger, he would also come into a gathering. Ram Dass, I hope you're looking, and he said, and I would count the house to see how many people came in my honor. So you're here. He's happy about it. Anicca vata sankara ubatawa yadamino upakitawa niruchanti desang upasamo sukho. All things, all created things are impermanent. They rise and pass like the waves of the ocean. To know this about life is to bring the highest happiness and the greatest peace to the heart. So Ram Dass, I got to know Ram Dass 48 years ago when I'd come back from being a monk, and all these other people had come back from India. And some of my closest friends, like Joseph Goldstein, Sharon Salzberg, also colleagues of Ram Dass. Some of them, if you heard from tonight, went up to Kenshi and went to Vrindavan to be with Maharaji. And some of them didn't get on the bus. And I remember Sharon and Joseph talking like, we didn't get on the bus to go see go to see Maharaji. And there was this kind of wistfulness in Sharon's voice sometimes, like I didn't go. And there can be that thought, you read Be Here Now and all the stories and think, well, I kind of missed it. I wish that I had been on the bus. But it turns out that you are on the bus. Take a look around. Look at the Guru Bhai, the brothers and sisters here. You did not miss the bus. This is us, and it's really important and special to recognize that there's not something that you missed, but that Ram Dass brought us all together and put us on the bus with 100,000 other people who are watching. Hi, nice to see you. And you can feel him just coming from the house where he, stayed. You could feel his presence there. But there's something really strange about death and someone leaving their body, because there's less of them, and there's also more of them. Like I can go anywhere and talk to Ram Dass, and sometimes he answers. And in our previous conversations, he had beautiful things to say to me, and once in a while, slightly, how do you say it, critical things to say. I go, Ram Dass, thank you for that one too. Because he had this incredibly keen eye along with a big heart. But here we are, honoring Ram Dass, being on the bus together, if you will, in the face of what Roshi just described as the mystery, and the mystery of where the gates between the worlds open. There's a passage in the Upanishads and the Mahabharata, there's some dialogue with the gods, as usual, about the mysterious and miraculous things in the world, and one of the gods says, well, the most miraculous thing is for people to see others around them dying and think that it won't happen to them. There's a miracle for you. But we are here in this mystery. Ram Dass is present in our hearts, in our minds, in ways that are extraordinary. He's not in his body, and he's asking, who are you? What matters to you as you look at this world? And he wants you to carry that spirit, that understanding of that which steps outside of time, to remember who you really are and what really matters. When I met him in the house of David McClellan, Mary, David was the chair of the Department of Psychology and Social Relations at Harvard. It was a kind of soiree, and there would be Allen Ginsberg or Krishnamurti or Chogyam Trungpa with a drink in his hand, of course, And Ram Dass was Ram Dass back then. He was a little bit more, how do you say it, neurotic. But he had so much humor about it. And I'd come and I'd talk to him about the things I was going through. He says, oh yeah, I flunked the course a lot of times. It's okay, just keep going. But underneath it, there was, as Raghu described, a kind of presence that was outside of time, that was detached from his own personality, so he could look at it with humor and get us to laugh at it. And he taught us so deeply. I remember when Ram Dass had his major stroke, and he was in the ICU in a hospital near Stanford University. And a number of us rushed down. What can we do? Somebody is lying there in the ICU. You can't do a lot for them. And they said he only had a little chance to live, 10%. And then some people were talking and say, well, what do you think Ram Dass would want us to do? And Ram Dass, in his many things of Seva Foundation, helping with blindness of millions of people who got their sight back, and he worked with conscious business also. He went everywhere. And so among the conscious business people, there came this conversation, what would Ram Dass want? And the next thing you know, a truck from the body shop at that time came to the hospital. No one knew who Ram Dass was. There were all these attendants and people working, Ram Dass, Ram Dass. And they were mostly people who'd immigrated from the Philippines or Central America or something, Ram Dass. And there was a basket full of lotions and unguents and potions and things for every member of the hospital staff. And then Ben & Jerry's ice cream truck pulled up, and there was ice cream for the families of everybody. Ram Dass. Pretty soon he got good care anyway, but Ram Dass. And what was beautiful about it was that was actually Ram Dass choreographing the whole thing in some mysterious way, in that we carry that, and he offered it to us. We loved your humor and your honesty and your fierce truth and your ability to remind us who we really are no matter what. We love the fact that you could play in all the worlds to remind us of our true nature. He said, remember your true nature and your social security number. And most importantly, he reminded us of something else, which you've been hearing, but I'll say it again. Thomas Merton, who was a great Christian mystic, said, the thing about holy people and saints and sages is not that they carry holiness and saintliness and sageliness. He said the gift of a holy person is that they can see the holiness in everyone else. Yeah. So on that last morning that Roshi and Raghu talked to the December retreat, when Ram Dass was there and Krishna Das was singing and all these people filed by, like 400 people, to get the malas that he'd blessed, they walked by and he gazed at everyone and he offered a kind of blessing that in India there's a phrase for it called the glance of mercy. When a guru looks at you with so much love that everything else melts away, that you can't even imagine. All that you thought you were drops away, and you remember that who you are is the mystery itself. Is consciousness taking this form? Is the divine in the form you're in? You are that. You are the consciousness of the universe in this strange, bizarre form that it's taken. And Ram Dass is reminding us. And so people would file by, and he would look at them with so much love that they would just stand there and start to weep. That's us now. We get to do that. We get to turn to each other and remember and see the secret beauty behind the eyes of everyone here. And this is the gift, Ram Dass, that you've given to us, and we will carry it.
Do you want them to do that for a minute? Thank you, Jack. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Trudy.
Okay, my turn. I'm really happy to be here, happier than you can even know. I mean, I started crying when I came out on the stage and saw all of you, all of us here to celebrate the love that we've all received from Ram Dass. But especially because last night we took a flight from the Big Island where we were with our family and part of our family, and there was a storm, and that little plane, it just started rocking and rolling, and you know, we're kind of seasoned travelers, we're cool, we're okay, we're fine. And it got worse and worse, and it just felt like this little plane
was a Mokulele
diving,
little one.
You know, yeah, 8-seater plane. It was just sort of grinding through this storm and rain and lights flashing, and then these two really loud alarms went off in the plane. And that was it.
Pull up.
We all, no, it did not say that. That was the plane. Let me speak, please. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm your backup band.
I'm determined. No, that was the plane that I was on to the refugee camp in eastern Chad in Africa. A teeny little UN rattly plane, dirt landing strips, and we're over the treetops, and the plane is saying, pull up, pull up, pull up. But the pilots didn't, and we landed safely, and it was very harrowing. But this was way worse. So here we are. I just kept saying, Ram Dass, we hadn't planned on seeing you quite this soon. And then I was kind of nervous arriving here, and I walk into the green room, and Wavy, Wavy, is sitting there, and he looks at me, and Mickey, thank you for this lei, it's beautiful. And he looks at me, and he says, you got laid. Now, maybe this is a joke on Maui that everybody knows, but I had this moment of like, how can he tell? Anyway, I was not one of the early lovers of Ram Dass at all. I was a Zen woman. And even though the second retreat Jack ever taught, before they even had IMS and Barry, Ram Dass was there. So we actually sat retreats together. I lived around the corner from the McClellan house, but no. It really took visiting him with you, Jack, and finding that I actually, in order to have a word in edgewise with him, needed to be alone with him for a moment, which you kindly helped facilitate. And that's when I really realized, oh, I see, I get it. Just melting into his love and feeling the joy of that love from a man who's sitting in his wheelchair, stuck there, right, for years and years and years, and still radiating that kind of love. So my surrender was to come to the little cottage next to the house and do silent retreats. And Ram Dass would be wheeled in, and many of you, I'm sure, did those retreats. Many of you had a chance to do the Monday swims with him. You all have your stories. Even if you didn't meet him in person, you have your stories of how he changed your life. And sometimes he would sit with me. We would sit for hours, and often I would pour out some trouble I was having or confess my spiritual shortcomings, and Ram Dass could always one-up me. He would always share something of his own that just made mine seem like nothing at all. And that was part of his gift. He had this legendary capacity for detachment from his own foibles, which he freely shared. And it was one of his superpowers, but it was enfolded in that attention that Raghu talked about, and love, that incredibly loving presence. And so when detachment is that way, it's wisdom. It's really the heart of wisdom. As many of you know, his house is a temple, an ashram, and thanks to the amazing efforts of his caregiving family, it still feels like that, and it can stay like that. It is going to be the Hanuman temple and ashram, continuing the legacy of Ram Dass on Maui. And if you are eager to see this center survive and thrive and actually happen, it's just in its embryonic form right now, you can go on hanumanmaui.org and donate and support this effort. We would love for you to do that. So like all of you, I just loved being around him. I just want to share some of the feeling of being around him because, you know, he learned to transmute that pain. And over years, I watched him refine his ability to transmute that pain into loving presence and just radiate love. He talked about when he meditated, he would wrap a blanket of love around the whole cosmos. And it was a universal love, but also that personal love. And there was nobody that I saw him love as much as Dasima. The way he looked at her toward the end of his life was just so beautiful to see. And over the years, yes, I learned from Ram Dass, of course, like all of us, but I also learned from Dasima, from watching her transform and watching her become the most devoted, dedicated companion that anybody could ever wish to have. And yes, you already received your standing ovation, but we could have another round of applause, I think.
Hear, hear.
I learned so much from watching Dasima and watching how she handled choreographing the household of super monkeys, which I call the gifted young caregivers, junior Hanumans, taking care of Ram Dass, who also we have recognized this evening. So Dasima, you showed me over and over again what true devotion looks like, and you kept him alive, and we all know that. So thank you. And this last year was a hard year because Ram Dass wasn't well a bunch of the time. And so it was really a roller coaster of emotion for everybody who loved him. And I just want to share with you an experience that I had. It was my last day at the house. I spent a lot of time there this summer, for me at least, in August. And Dasima set up a little card table on the balcony with a chair there, and Ram Dass was sitting there with his breakfast. He had porridge, and then he would have all these little glass bottles, little jars, glasses, little pretty glasses full of potions and medicines and healing things, and he had to drink them all. And he would sit there, and the balcony looks out over this vista of rolling green gullies and hills and papaya trees and the clouds and rolling all the way down to the ocean. And I just said, wow, 5-star view, Ram Dass. He swept his hand in a gesture of welcome, including all of it, and smiled, 5-star. Now, he could sit in front of an uneaten breakfast longer than anybody I know. I do not have that gift of being able to sit in front of my food without touching a bite of it. But for him, the silence was clearly more nourishing than the breakfast. If it had been dessert, that might have been different, but we never talked that much this summer because his aphasia, his difficulty finding words, got worse, especially after March. And when he would search for words, it was just a reminder to be patient, to be as patient as he is. And even though he'd been stuck in that wheelchair for 20 years, he felt and he taught us that we are not just this body, we are souls. And his fearlessness in facing it all, his steadfast courage and spiritual strength is something that he lent to all of us when we needed it. In fact, even when we didn't need it, he's just there, radiating that. And so as we sat together that morning, appreciating the beauty of this land, this beautiful Maui, thank you for being such a healing force of magic in helping Dasima keep him alive, and his team of others, of course. He taught, we have the capacity to love everyone. And as I sat with him, a subtle shift happened. All my thinking subsided. The view was so clear, inside and out. And I could see how this is also his gift of helping us remember the innate, great, really bright spark of inspiration and clarity that we all have in our hearts when we aren't lost in our thinking, when we're with the loving awareness that can observe and sense and not be lost in thinking. So that morning, we were just being together in this simple fullness of presence, the ordinary, extraordinary, here-ness and now-ness. This morning I sat in his room, enveloped in the stillness and peace of his meditative presence, just as palpable as when he was in his body. And I could hear him saying, we have to get out of our thinking minds, and I'll tell you how I do it. You know how he did it. By using a mantra, a phrase, I am loving awareness. Loving awareness, he told us, is the name for what we really, truly are. And he said, when you do this, repeating this, I am loving awareness, you do get to love everything. The sky, the room, your body, other people. And then I ride the mantra into my heart. And in my heart, I see a doorway or a veil to the next plane. I am loving awareness. So Jack is going to lead us in a meditation.
Close your eyes just for a minute.
Of loving awareness.
And feel the silence, even though we gather with so many. There's a deep stillness and a vastness as well in this mystery. And while you can be aware of your breath and body seated here, of the emotions of tenderness and love, longing, grief, sweetness, you can also become aware of awareness itself, that the sounds and sensations, all that you experience, are being received by consciousness. This is what you really are. Let go of identification with the sounds, the feelings, the thoughts, and become loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am the witness to all consciousness itself. I am loving awareness. And rest in loving awareness. It is your true nature. It is your home. And finally, staying with loving awareness, let your eyes open and turn toward one person near you. And very simply in silence, see the secret beauty behind those eyes. We are loving awareness. See who they really are. You get to be Ram Dass, looking and gazing at another person for a moment. You and you and you. You are loving awareness. You are loving awareness. You're making him happy, and he you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to have a song at this point from Mendeleyev, Blitz. Am I getting that right? Yep. And this is like Ram Dass's nephew, okay? Right? Yeah. Here he is.
Want to get down by your guitar? Or you can plug it in. Yeah.
My name is Mendeleyev. I had the honor of growing up around Ram Dass, and I have the honor of being around you guys today. I've also been instructed backstage to tell you guys or encourage you to silence your cell phones. Please.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound has saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Once blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace that fear relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. 'Twas grace that taught us safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound has saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but I see.
Thank you so much, Mendeleyev. So our next presenter here is Frank Ostaseski. And Frank, we just thank you so much for making this trip. He hasn't really appreciate you.
Here we are together, huh? In this big web of love. And Ram Dass at the center. And I have this feeling that if we were to pluck any strand, touch any one of us, it would all go to and from Ram Dass. I want to acknowledge some other people tonight. I want to acknowledge Ram Dass's son, Peter, and his niece, Kathy, are here with us. And I want to thank them for sharing this day in Ram Dass with us. And Dasi, oh boy. Thank you for loving him so well. And the super monkeys, that Trudy calls them. Thank you for your strong backs and warm hearts. And Mike Kroll, you're here somewhere, probably backstage. Thank you for the 1,008 ways you loved and supported him. And Raghu and Ramesh and Mirabai and all the people at Love Serve Remember, thank you for archiving the teachings of Ram Dass and making them available to people all over the world. So like many of you, I feel his vastness tonight, and I can sense that big, boundless heart of his. And in a way, he's everywhere, and he's not apart from me and you. And still, I miss my friend. I miss looking into those luminous blue eyes. And I miss our banter around the breakfast table. And I miss the shared ease of our silence together. And I miss the way he gave Dasi a hard time for the way she drove. And among the many brilliant qualities of Ram Dass was, of course, the way he taught so lovingly and authentically from his mistakes. And I think that and his prankster ways, they helped a lot of us, to hold our mistakes with more kindness. They helped a lot of us, I think, to find a way to hold our pain and our confusion in the embrace of love. Ram Dass talked a lot about going home. And once I remember sitting at the table with him, and I said, Ram Dass, I want you to tell me about when you first met Maharaji. I know all the stories. I want you to boil it down to one word. He thought for a while, and then he said, home. Home. And sometime later, I asked him, what do you think it's going to be like when you die, Ram Dass? And he repeated, home, 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 home. One time, I was on the road traveling someplace teaching in some anonymous hotel rooms in some nondescript city. And we had a call, Ram Dass and I, and he said, how are you doing? And I said, oh, Ram Dass, I'm bone tired. But it's okay because I'm almost home. And there was this long, silent pause on the other end of the phone. And I could almost feel his sly smile coming through the phone lines. And I said, oh, humbled. I said, oh, right. You want me to remember that, to make home wherever I am. I had a lot to learn, and I'm still learning from him. And I'm really glad he's free. And I'm so happy that he's not struggling with conditions and limitations. And I know that this very human love that we knew as Ramdas has merged with divine love. And still, I miss my friend. I miss his humor and I miss his form. And so there's always this question in my mind about how do we move towards suffering and loss? How do we move toward the light of absolute truth and not neglect? And how do we not neglect it and forget to honor our very human nature? Certainly not by suppressing our grief, not by trying to do some spiritual bypass around the difficult and dark emotions that we often feel when there's loss like this. You know, a lot of us, we might want to transcend our grief, you know. Just let it go, our egos say. But there's no letting go until there's letting in. So a wiser and more compassionate approach, it might be to just trust the process of grief and to recognize it as a path to wholeness. Ramdas offered this very wise counsel about grief and not attachment. He said, don't make believe that you're not feeling it. He said, let the grief happen. You got to allow yourself to get lost in it. The minute you push it away, it clings more tightly. He said, so go through it, but develop a consciousness around it. So you know that there is the grief and there is the awareness of the grief. I want to feel it all. No part left out. You know, I was thinking this morning of another great being who died, the Buddha, you know. And there's this sutta, the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. And I don't remember it all, but I'll paraphrase. And in it, there's this beautiful accounting of the monks at the time of the Buddha's death. And it's a really good description of the spectrum of things that we might feel. And in this accounting, there are monks who had not overcome the passions of their hearts and minds, and they wept, and they wailed, and they tore out their hair in anguish, and they fell down to the ground and twisted and turned and cried. And then there were others, you know, monks who freed themselves from craving, and they sat quietly, mindfully, in equanimity, reflecting on the truth that all things are impermanent. And this accounting, it's followed by some advice that's always troubled me, actually. Not because it's not true, but because it's so easily misunderstood. And because grief, in the territory of grief, advice almost never helps. And there was this one venerable monk, and he said, enough with your weeping and wailing. Stop all this. Didn't the Blessed One tell us that all things are impermanent, that coming together inevitably means parting? Why all this, friends? Whatever is born is subject to decay. It cannot be other than that. And this is all true. But while I would have liked to identify and imagine myself to be with the monks who were free of craving, I probably would have found myself weeping and wailing, as I have this last month since my friend died. And, you know, I would have found it helpful If there was someone who would just sit with me and listen. Someone who could accompany my sorrow, who could tolerate helplessness and not knowing and not fixing. And I believe I could feel their love and their concern when they didn't need me to be any different. And I could feel the pulse of life in them. And I could feel it as encouragement to keep going. And in that heart exchange, I think I would have found something much more valuable than 1,000 truthful words. And I think maybe at some point I would have been able to raise my head from my hands and see their face, and maybe there find the eyes of compassion. And this could only be done by someone who understood that we were all tangled up together. Each of us beautiful and unique, not separate. And it could only be done by someone who understood that the face of our own individual suffering is just one face of the suffering we share. And then maybe together we could stand up and we could walk toward the inevitable pain of loss. You know, there's no shortcuts through grief. The only way is through the middle. But our fear of it sometimes causes us to think about and speak about getting over our grief or managing our grief. How come we never talk about managing our joy, getting over our happiness? This is the human condition. And the willingness to experience all of it, to investigate the pain, gives rise to compassion. And our loving attention, it melts our well-constructed defenses. And as Ram Dass reminded us, we begin to invite the pain into our hearts. All the thoughts and the physical sensations and the emotional turmoil that we've so long rejected, that we had so little room for, now it's held in loving awareness. Grief opens us. Grief is that capacity. It has this capacity to show us how separate we might have felt, how fractured we have allowed ourselves to become at times. And meeting this experience with some tenderness, some mercy, we discover grief is our common ground. It's like a connective tissue that joins us in our joy and our sorrow. And opening compassionately to our grief, we open to our whole self, to all of life. In grief, the parts of ourself that were somehow unavailable to us, they become available, and grief can lead us to this profound understanding. It takes us beyond our individual loss. It helps us to understand the truth of impermanence, the truth of suffering, the illusion of our separateness. And then, as Ram Dass reminded us, with loving awareness, we appreciate that we're more than the grief and what the grief is moving through. And when we do that, well, we might still fear death, but we won't fear living so much. Because we've learned in surrendering to grief to give ourselves fully to this life. So thank you, Ram Dass, for being our teacher, our mentor, our sweet friend. I miss you. And I know that I can keep talking to you all the time, and we can meet heart to heart, soul to soul. Thank you. I love you. And yes, I know you love me too. But thank you, Ramdas. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Frank. So as you can tell, we're running over a little bit here in our program, so we'll be as mindful as we can with everybody. Lama Surya is going to chat a little bit. Lama was with us, Krishna and I and Ramdas, with Nikaroli Baba back in the day, and then proceeded to also be with some of the greatest Tibetan lamas of this last 100 and something years, including 16th Karmapa. I always say Lama Surya is absolutely the most graced person I have ever met by virtue of these beings that he has spent this kind of time with. And he came and he shared with Ramdas on a year-to-year basis over all the years. Come on. Lama Surya.
Echoing the feelings and beautiful words, thoughts, and inspirations everybody has said today and felt from here and from all of you. I'm going to keep it short, as time is short. I mean, the new now is so fast these days. Have you noticed? Being here now has gotten harder. Wait a minute. Excuse me. I got to take this. Ramdas. Ramdas was my friend, mentor, guru bhai, guru brother, as so many of you are, my sister, etc. And he meant so much to all of us and to me personally. Not just because he was like an axial personality, as Karl Jaspers called it, referring to the first axial age when all the great world religions and philosophies were founded about 2,600 years ago, and humans discovered transformation and self-inquiry and things like that. But now, again, Ramdas, bringing down the fire from the mountaintops, from the gods, and bring it to us, and in such a self-deprecating and funny manner, almost verging on shtick, if you come from the Northeast. Which reminds me that he helped me so much. I mean, it's all about me anyway. I mean, you know, it's coming around again. The me decades, I'm afraid. We'll see what we can do about that and move from me to we. But Ramdas reminded me that I don't have to be hung up or think in isms and schisms and be a Buddhist or a Hindu or a Sufi or a Jew or a Catholic or a nudist or a counterculturalist or a Buju or a Nubu or a Hindu. And I remember once, and I don't know if many of you remember because, you know, the memory batteries seem to be dimming in the theater up here, but Ramdas put out, yeah, he did Be Here Now, and he did a few other, Seva Foundation, and hundreds of thousands of sight restored and all. But he put out once a poster, and it said, and it probably had a picture of Maharaji on it, but I'm a word guy. I remember the words, the best form in which to worship God is every form. And when I first saw that, I just thought that was so awesome. And really, he lived that, and he synthesized that from so many sources. But of course, from our Guru Maharaji, whose index finger always seemed to be up. We didn't know if he was saying very good, number one, or chastising us. But the caption we chose to put on it was Sub-Ek, all one. But this is beyond one or many. This is really a wholeness that we all feel, as people have talked about, the web of love that we're all intertwined in, and it's so beautiful. And I knew Ram Dass over the years, and I have been coming here every winter and staying with him and by the grace of Dasima and others of the Super Monkeys, and so I'm not going to thank her again and cause a huge, again, as she deserves, rousing ovation for her many years of seva and putting up with him and his criticism of her driving. And his criticism, Ram Dass, might occasionally get irritated, which was not that easy. Big laugh from the Super Monkeys over there. You should. That's why we're not giving you the mic. You can just tell each other. But he had his critiques for me too. Just like he even critiqued Jack Kornfield, one of the pioneers of Buddhism in the West, along with his colleagues that he mentioned. But he used to say things to me, and we heard about one-upping. He once said to me when we were teaching together something like, and there was that sly smile, do you always have to one-up me? And for Ram Dass, that was a pretty good compliment, don't you think? Well, it was also a backhanded compliment, putting me down. But we had our little, brother-like games and competitions in the grace race, but it was all love. I mean, it's not a race. How did I say? I don't know. And anyway, but surrendering to what was happening was really hard for him, and we all learned so much from it. I learned so much from it, and how he came to understand that he had been stroked by the Guru, and to go beyond and to just be love. And even after so many decades, centuries, and I don't know how long, of us meditators talking about awareness and mindfulness and contemplation and many other words that sound like from the eyebrows up, Ram Dass, again, being an axial personality and bringing forth a new pivoting into a different age, bring it all together and paying it forward. He added the word loving to the word awareness. Loving awareness. That ain't nothing, friends. After decades, centuries, and millennia of mindfulness, contemplation, meditation, enlightenment, and so on. So loving awareness. Loving awareness. And loving is an adjective, but it's also a verb, loving awareness. And that's what we are. So I'm not going to go on. There are many things that we could say. I'd like to feel, Ram Dass, you here now, as usual. Where else could you be? Where else can we ever be? We don't even have to try that hard. Where else could we ever be but in the holy now? The timeless time, the holy now, beyond time and space. And just to be with him, his total focus, those blue eyes, his acute attention, awareness, and discernment. Awesome. And I miss our meals together and our joking together and learning from him. Loving awareness. So the big Ram Dass is with us always now. We don't have to wait for him to come from Haiku over to here or to the retreat at the other side of the island. Just like when our guru died. I mean, in Tibetan Buddhism, we have a saying that when the Lama dies, when the guru dies, it's as if the string has been cut on the mala and a bodhi seed lands in everybody's heart that was connected to him or her, devoted to him or her. And a bodhi seed from which a bodhi tree can blossom within us. That's the big Maharaji, not just an old man, Indian man who left this world at the full moon in 1973. Not just Baba Ram Dass, Richard Alpert, our dear friend, brother and mentor and inspiration, but the big Ram Dass, the true servant, devotee
of God and all that's on high. So I was looking for some prayers to say, and I came upon one that I think would be apt to end here. Of course, I could chant something in Tibetan, but I just want to end here with this prayer that I found in an ancient hymnal in the Midwest, in the heart of the country. We, Ram Dass, I am the place where God shines through. She and I are one, not two. She needs me where and as I am. I need not think, fear, worry, or plan. When we can be relaxed together and free. Your work, your plan of love, loving awareness through we, through me. Thank you all, and I bow to that in you. Thank you, Ram Dass. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Surya, Lama Surya Das. And now we're going to have the inimitable Wavy Gravy, who was a partner in crime with Ram Dass over so much social action and seva and other for forever and ever and ever. Wavy.
Because of seva, we got 5 million people on the other side of the world not bumping into shit. I am Wavy Gravy, hippie icon, flower geezer, and temple of accumulated error. But before that, I was a consummate hippie. Are there any ex-hippies out there? I evolved at this amazing structure at 116 McDougal Street in New York City called the Gaslight Cafe, where I was, before I segued into my other stuff, Hugh Romney, and I wrote poems. And I was selected to read a poem, and the poem was selected for me. So I will try and dissolve into this poem. My favorite short poem is by Ogden Nash. He said, "If you see a panther, don't answer." This is less brief. And it is called Only Love. Once upon a time, when time had just begun, everything was real and make-believe. So make-believe a child's name was only love. Only love was only love upon the universe where Buddha smiled in bell smoke. His mother lived upon the moon and pasted water on his eyes to make them holy, holy eyes. His father was a mighty star who sometimes laid the sky upon the table of his knees. One day, The star that was his father rinsed a necklace round the neck of only love and said, take this wonder to your soul and know yourself within your soul. Well, only love was just a boy without the work of words and could not understand his father's will. His eyes, which knew a panther's leap into a pearl, reached out and touched his father's love that hung about his neck with bits of stone and spider bones and pieces of the sun. It made him very, very proud. So with a butterfly named Make-Believe, he journeyed off his father's smile and through a chocolate dream. When make-believe became too real to fly, they stopped among the land of mice and silver toads. Ring round with creatures of this land, the boy thrust out a tiny chest to primp his father's wonder proud. He only found his soul alone. He jumped aboard his butterfly to find his father's son and soul, and all along a chocolate dream they stopped and searched in vain. Then make-believe began to cry. A very silver tear curled up within his life. The butterfly began to die and started turning real. So only love gave only love, and with that silver tear the boy cut out his holy, holy eyes and strung them on a passing smile. Look, make-believe, cried only love, the necklace made of stone and bone and pieces of the sun is found. And with these words, he rinsed the necklace to his soul and knew himself to be his soul. With heralds high and bursting only love, a boy still lives among the butterflies and wanders chocolate dreams. He swallows down the tears of every child and turns them into silver roses in make-believe. All children's names are only love. Upon the universe where Buddha smiles in bell smoke, today the sun shall learn to pray, tonight the moon shall mark a tomb, and yet the sky will never die. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Wavy. So great. So we're going to introduce, there's just a couple of us left. And actually, we're going to have Hanuman Das. Hanuman Das takes care of, Ram Das was the president of the Neem Karoli Baba Taos Ashram, Hanuman Temple. And Hanuman Das was the on-the-ground vice president who has taken care all these years to make sure that Maharaji's temple stayed in good shape. And most of all, Ram Das went there last July because there was a commemoration of the new temple for Hanuman. And this was something Ram Das had put together in the 70s to get a beautiful, beautiful statue of Hanuman sent to America to represent our legacy, basically, love and service. So Hanuman Das, come and share.
Ram Ram, as we say often to one another as devotees, but so happy to be here, so happy to see everybody here in Ram Das's honor. You know, I thought a lot about what to say, and there's no way to condense nearly 50 years of love into a few moments or a few words. And I think we've all had our experience of who Ram Das is. And for me, he really was that love. He was also my authority and my protector, as Raghu said. For the last 35 or 40 years, I've been involved with the ashram in Taos and helping to bring about a final beautiful home for Hanuman to live in. And without Ram Das's support and being there as my authority, that I could go, well, Ram Das said. Anyway, but mostly he was love. And, you know, even in the last, I was here in October, and he wasn't talking a lot, but he was still really present, and mostly you'd look into his eyes. But we were having dinner, and the cook, I forget who it was, maybe Michelle, came in, and we were in the middle of dinner, and she says, "Oh, I made cookies for dessert." And I looked at Ram Dass, and I said, "Ooh, I'm looking forward to cookies." And he gave me one of those scowls that he could give. He just looked at me, and I'm like, "What? You like cookies? So do I." And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Yes, you do." And he goes, "No, not forward. Be here now." And I'm like, even for cookies, he was like, "Be here now." All right. So anyway, that's right, you know, he was always the teacher, always the most beloved of friends and mentors, and I miss him terribly, and I feel him constantly. So thank you, Ram Dass. And I know everybody has given a shout out to Dasima and to the Super Monkeys, but you know, we had him with us for so much longer, and they gave him the most beautiful, tender, loving care that anybody could ever receive. And one of the delights of my life is that I got to come and visit him, and I got to know these people intimately and become their lovers. I love them all supremely. One last thing before I think they're going to come up and sing Aarti for us. I had a short Sanskrit mantra from the Upanishads that I wanted to chant, and then we'll do Aarti. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrichorma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrichorma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrichorma Amritam Gamaya. From what is not, lead me to what is. From darkness, lead me to light. From death, lead me to what is undying. Ram Ram. Namaste, everybody.
So we're going to have what's called Aarti, which in India is honoring the Guru through prayer. And as Hanuman Das mentioned, the caretakers over the years of Ram Dass have all kind of evolved, and there's always a harmonium and some drums in the living room, and Krishna Das would come over, and they kind of started doing it themselves, and here they are now, going around as a group called Kripa, and doing wonderful work and singing in prisons and so on. So, Kripa, come on out.
Can I say a couple words real quick?
Yeah.
Asked me to.
Okay. Why don't you announce everybody in the band? Look at this, okay?
Wow, what a surreal moment, but also so real. Hi, everybody. My name is Evan, or Krishna Prem, or as Ram Dass would often call me, Moo. And I'm part of this team of RD's caregivers, which I guess now is known as Kripa, which means divine grace. At the end there we have Lakshman. And then next to him in the white we have Aiden. And next to him we have this super monkey S, Jennifer. And in that good-looking cap, the very handsome Lucian. And next to him, Sri Hari, or Scott Whitmore. And down the line we have Govinda, Michael Cobb. And next to him, Matthew Kervost, or Pawan Das. And the newest member of our crew is right to his right, Scooty Ram, or Scott. And the tennis mystic, Harry Hamilton. And with that sharp haircut resembling Raghu's, yes, it was not a mistake, Christopher Fiorello. And Ganga Das, Derek, right here at the end. And on the harmonium, who will be leading us in Aarti tonight is Sita Ram Das, or Ken Sandin, who is the first caregiver to be fully devoted to Ram Das and take care of him. Also, hail Murphy, full of grace. We love you, Dasima. So, in a moment, we'll do Aarti, which is a ritual that comes from Mother India. This is a moment when we come with all of our gratitude, with all of our love, and with all of our humility. And we surrender our hearts in unison in front of that which brings the whole of existence into love, or God, or community. So it's that same unconditional love that Ram Dass showed in each and every person in this room and everybody listening right now around the world. I know that I can speak for everybody saying that as soon as I got near him, as soon as I walked in the room, my life changed forever. And I'm so, so grateful. Because not only did I learn about love as a reality, but I stumbled upon the people that I will spend the rest of my life with, my family. He loved us all in a way that we had never, ever imagined we could be loved, setting himself aside completely and reflecting back to us our own true nature, which is that love. So Ram Dass, thank you so very much. We love you forever and ever and ever. So in that same spirit of unconditional love, I'm going to invite you to stand with us. And the Aarti is in your pamphlet. And let's surrender together.
Jaya Jagadish Hare Swami Jaya Jagadish Hare Bhakta Janana Ke Sangat Dina Janana Ke Sangat Shanamendura Kare Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Jyodhyawe Bhalabawe Dukha Vinashe Managa Swami Dukha Vinashe Managa Sukha Sambhati Ghara Awe Sukha Sambhati Ghara Awe Gashtamite Tanaga Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Mata Pita Tuma Mere Saranaga Om Kesaki Swami Saranaga Om Kesaki Tuma Binora Nadusha Tuma Binora Nadusha Ashakurun Chisaki Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Tuma Purana Paramatma Tuma Antaryami Swami Tuma Antaryami Bara Brahma Parameshwara Bara Brahma Parameshwara Tuma Sabhake Swami Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Karuna Ke Sagara Tuma Palanagarata Swami Tuma Palanagarata Maise Vakatuma Swami Maise Vakatuma Swami Kripa Karo Bharata Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Tuma Ega Gochara Subhake Pranapati Swami Subhake Pranapati Kisa Bidhi Milundaya Maya Kisa Bidhi Milundaya Maya Tuma Gome Gumati Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Dina Bandhu Dukha Harata Tuma Rakshaka Mere Swami Tuma Rakshaka Mere Apane Atho Dhao Apane Atho Dhao Dwara Paratere Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Vishaya Vikara Midam Babaro Deva Swami Babaro Deva Shraddha Bhakti Badhao Shraddha Bhakti Badhao Santan Ke Seva Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Swami Jaya Jagadish Hare Bhakta Janana Ke Sankat Dina Janana Ke Sankat Shanume Dura Kare Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhus Chasaka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Om Bajrang Bali Hanuman ki jai, Shri Bhavana Sutta Hanuman ki jai, Shri Lakshmi Narayana Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Umapati Mahadeva ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Krishna Baladao ki jai, Shri Vinayavasini Jagadamba Maya ki jai, Shri Vaishnavi Devi Maya ki jai, Shri Annapurna Devi Maya ki jai, Sabha Santana ki jai, Sabha Hari Bhaktana ki jai, Shri Sanatana Dharma ki jai, Shri 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 Siddhi Mataji ki jai, Shri 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 Baba Ramdas ji ki jai, Shri 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 Natakoti Nimgroli Baba Santa Maharaja ki jai.
Dasima will just share a little bit and we will end with her benediction.
Okay. First, I'd like to briefly introduce Ram Dass's son, Peter. Ram Dass found out he had a son when Peter was in his 50s. Ram Dass loved Peter. He particularly loved that he didn't have to change his diaper or pay for his college tuition.
And I didn't have to change his.
Yeah. Peter, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Different than all of you, I came into Ram Dass's life in a much, much different way. And it helped me answer so many questions about my life and who I was growing up. But I very quickly began and came to know and love and appreciate who my father was and the great gifts that he gave so many, because people would come to me all the time and talk to me about it, and the love that they had was incredible. I do want to just shout out two people very quickly. One is my brother Lawrence, who initiated the conversation, but also Chuck Blitz, who helped to transition the relationship that I began to grow with Ram Dass. And I want to thank both of them. As much as we came to love and respect and honor Ram Dass, I think that we also brought great joy to him. I think the fact that he had a son, that he had a daughter-in-law, but had a granddaughter, I think was incredible for him, the love that they showed for each other. It was really something. And the greatest thing for me is that I see Ram Dass every time I see her, my daughter Emily, because she has his smile, she has his eyes, she is got so many gifts from him. So I appreciate so much you all allowing me to be a part of you all today. Thank you.
We thank you all for coming today. There's a couple of people, and so many wonderful people here in the audience. There's a couple of people I just want to call out to. His niece, Kathy Alpert, and his dear, dear friend of 58 years, I think he beats most of you, Peggy Hitchcock. Yeah. Peggy's family allowed Timothy and him to stay at Millbrook, and Peggy has been a dear friend ever since that time. I'd like to thank many very generous souls, such as Chuck Blitz and Chris Janesco and Peter Kelsey, who have given so much to Ram Dass. And lastly, his team of doctors, all of whom are here today. And they're the ones who kept Ram Dass alive. We had a weekly call, and they were there every Thursday at 9:30 Hawaiian time. And it was probably, they had new challenges every week. Yes, yeah. I moved to Maui myself 15 years ago to care for Ram Dass, and he has been my best friend, my teacher, and a brilliant example of loving awareness. Yes. I feel so honored and blessed to have met him and to have met all these wonderful people. The super monkeys and all the teachers that came by the house. It's been a wonderful 15 years. And Mark Haddad, who's one of his doctors, and was there when he passed, along with Malik Cotter and Christopher Fiorello and myself. And he had a very beautiful death. He wasn't in a lot of excruciating pain. I mean, he's in pain all the time, but it wasn't excruciating pain. And at the end, he surrendered. He took 3 deep breaths, and he was gone. Yeah. The one thing I can say is that he loved swimming. He loved swimming almost as much as he loved Maharaji and ice cream. Now that's saying something. His favorite expression has always been, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. On Mondays, the satsang would swim out to a buoy, and soon it became a tradition for Ram Dass to lead us in, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So in his honor, let's close with, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh joy, oh joy, oh joy, oh joy. Oh joy, oh joy, oh joy, oh joy. Oh joy, oh joy, oh joy, oh joy. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Life is but a dream. Life is merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Life is but a dream. Thank you all.
Thanks for coming. We'll see you soon.
Sees death as the awakening of a new world, a new perception.